All right, ready?
I'm Meredith.
I'm Elise. And this is your 20s. St. Louis, baby.
We're in a yoga studio right now,
in
too.
St. Louis. This is St. Charles. That's right, St. Charles.
Yes,
so St. Louis area, about 30 minutes out of St. Louis.
Yeah.
But this is our first business trip.
Yeah, it's wild.
But this is your 20s.
I know, it's crazy. I can't believe it. It's like we've been thinking about this for so long. We've been manifesting all this stuff for ourselves, and it's like finally happening, and it's so exciting.
It is
good.
Yeah. It is a good day. We also just got tattoos.
Like very spontaneous
Again,
tattoos.
like this is like the second tattoo.
In 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks, that's correct.
Sorry, Mom, if you're listening.
Sorry, Mom.
She's probably not listening. It's fine. But yeah, we we literally were just like, what should we do today? That's crazy.
We're in St. Louis. We have some time.
And so we got little baby crowns. She got one. Elise got one on her finger.
And I was wanting to get one right here.
Yes, you should. It hurt a little bit, I'm not gonna lie, but you'll be fine. It's quick.
It's so little. And then I got one on my ankle here. So
yes, which is Caroline, if you're listening, we love you. We're very sorry. We know that.
So sorry. I know
Caroline's her sister, and she was planning on getting the same tattoo, but never got it.
It's fine. You know, we'll be matching sister tattoos. It'll be good. So
love you, Caroline.
Yeah. So we're trying to just like be spontaneous and enjoy our time here in St. Louis and talk with great people, obviously, and it's gonna be great. So
which brings us to our amazing guest today, Steph Elsperman.
You got it. Elsperman.
I got it.
It's a mouthful.
Steph Bryn Elsperman.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And if you were to say my full first name, it'd be Stefanie Bryn Elsperman, and then it rhymes.
Oh my gosh! I love it. That's a beautiful name.
Bryn screwed me up.
I love it. Well, it's so wonderful to meet you. Thank you for being on our show. So a little bit about Steph. I'll kind of let her introduce herself, but she's a mindset coach. I actually found her from being on the stepper at the gym. I was like, I die when I go on the stepper, so I was like, I always distract myself with TikTok. I came across one of her TikToks, went straight to her page, like stalked you for a...
That's so crazy.
You let me be on the stepper for a good 15 minutes, so thank you. Because I was just like, that's a lot for the stepper, but I was just flipping through her videos like, I'm like, queen, like this is awesome, we need her on the show. So I DM'd her and then we talked that night. She's like, I'm in St. Louis. I called up Mare, I was like, let's do it.
It's like classic Elise too. When we were driving up here, I'm like, so how did you guys meet again? And she's like, I basically just shoot. Wow. Whoa. English.
Shoot a shot.
I shot my shot. Wow, that was really embarrassing. Shot my shot on
Mare, I do that all the time.
I know. Yeah, words are hard, English. But she basically slid in her DM. So I was like, that is the most Elise thing
I was honestly honored that you replied. I was like, oh, she replied to me.
Well, I saw that you I don't know, I just liked your energy of like how you like approached it. A lot of the time, to be honest, like I don't answer that side of the DMs just because it's way too much.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do. But it was amazing that like we actually connected.
I know, it's so good to meet you.
And now we're here. It's just so crazy.
So a little background too. She just taught a hot yoga lesson.
Yes.
So we were gonna do yoga with her. We got the time wrong, blah blah blah. But she is a yoga instructor as well. So we're literally in her yoga studio.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous studio too. The lighting is gorge. Yes. So we're sitting on the ground, which is fine.
Yeah, if you haven't found that out.
It was either here or do it in the steaming hot yoga studio. So we were like, probably better to do it in here so we're not dripping sweat.
And if you're listening on iHeartRadio or Spotify or Apple Podcasts, go check us out on YouTube because this full video will be up. So go check it out. Go check us out there. So anyway, I want your story. Tell us what you do and why you do it.
Okay, so starting with what I do and why I do it. First of all, I'm a mindset coach, and what I specialize in is I help women find purpose. And I feel like a lot of people within their lives, they get to this point of success where they're like, oh my gosh, okay, I have the job, I'm doing the thing that I always thought I wanted, and I'm still unfulfilled. And so basically what I help women do is get really clear on what is it that lights you up. Like, what do you actually want after your life? And then we take action towards it. So that is what I do within my coaching program, which is 90 days long, called the Purpose Driven Life Method, which has been just a wild ride.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so amazing. So I'm curious because I know you use TikTok as a main platform.
Yes.
When did you start on TikTok? Like, and how has that helped grow your presence in your business?
TikTok is so funny because it's something that I started as a joke.
Really?
And yeah, which I think a lot of people, especially like our age in their 20s, like start TikTok as a joke. Like,
well, and they're like, everyone's on TikTok, you know, so like, why not me?
Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so my boyfriend was like, you know, you need to get on TikTok. You need to get, I think he heard it from like Gary Vee or something.
Yep.
And I was like, no, like, you know, I'm on Instagram right now. That's like where all my focus is. I'm not going to get on TikTok. Why would I waste my time? It's only 14-year-olds. And then I got on TikTok and I was like, let me just play around here. And also, I'm not a good dancer. And so I was kind of like rewriting my story of like not being a good dancer. I was like, let me just try it out. And so then I had like one video that went viral and I was like, okay, there's like something to this. Because I had people reaching out to me and I was like, this is just fun. And then I kept creating videos and now my past probably 20 clients have all come from TikTok.
That's
Which is just
Wow.
crazy. Yeah,
Yeah.
so usually they go to TikTok. What I love is that you can really express your energy through video, which I think is beautiful, right? You guys probably feel that, which is why you have like the video set up.
Definitely.
And yeah, they connect on a much deeper level and then find me on Instagram just like you did.
Yeah.
And that's how we can connect.
Yes.
So,
I love
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really crazy. So that's how I got on
think-
TikTok.
awesome.
By
Yeah.
accident.
Right. Now look, I mean, what month did you get it? Was it?
Oh, so it was in, I believe, like February.
Okay.
Like before,
Pandemic.
right before quarantine.
Okay.
Okay.
And then since then, it's just kind of blown up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Which, yeah.
That's awesome. So I'd like to know a little bit more too about kind of like your path to mindset coaching. We talked a little bit before we started recording just so we could get kind of a gist of her story, but you went to school for a little bit and then you decided it wasn't for you, and then like what drew you to say like, okay, this is what I want to do, you know, for my career for the rest of my life?
My own shit.
Yes.
It's basically what brought me here. People were like, how'd you get here? I was like, I went through a lot of shit.
Yeah.
But basically, so where do you want me to start with it?
How about college a little bit? I'm curious about, because you talked about the academic side of things and feeling like you were maybe trying to follow a path that was set out for you by society. I loved that kind of like viewpoint on
I
things.
think a lot of my life has been about breaking societal norms. So even if we were to backtrack into high school, I was modeling in high school.
Oh, wow.
And so I walked in like Paris Fashion Week and all of this things. Like I had like the life where like any high schooler would be like, that's the coolest life. Like I would travel, and that was my high school experience. And I got to like this place where so many people would want to be, and I was like, I can't freaking do this. Like this isn't for me. And so I threw away everything that I thought I once wanted to find another level of freedom, which then led me to college, because I didn't think I was going to go to college when I was modeling. Went to college. I went to a super academically focused school, it was basically at the Ivy League level, and it was super intense. And I loved it. I got all A's. I was in a sorority. I had friends. I was living from the outside like a perfect life. Right. And I was doing so well in my classes. I did like my classes, but I was so stressed and I was sick. And I was constantly getting sick. I literally had like the strep throat, like a flu. I was in urgent care constantly. My friends were like, why are you always in urgent care? And I was like, they know me there now. And so it was really crazy. And it was that point where my body was speaking to me what my intuition needed to tell me, if that makes sense. And so from that point, I actually had a lymph node swell up in my neck, and I went to the hospital and they falsely diagnosed me with lymphoma.
Oh my God.
So I'm sitting there in the hospital, and I remember I got to a point where I was like, universe, God, whatever's out there, like, I don't care what I have to do. I'm so sick and I'm so in so much pain. I will walk away from school. I'll do whatever I need to do. Just please let me be better. Yeah. And so it took that diagnosis where they're like, yeah, it could be lymphoma. And I was like, damn it. Like, why didn't I listen sooner? And so that was a really big breaking point and an awakening of like, you have to listen to yourself. And so that summer I was like, I can't go back to school. And thankfully I have parents who are incredible and who were like, they were like, what are you doing? Like, WTF? But they supported me in taking that break. And so I went and I traveled to Bali, taught English there for a while, and I did not know what I was getting myself into. I didn't even realize like Eat, Pray, Love was there. People were like, oh, did you go like find yourself in Bali? And I was like, I kind of did, but not in the way that I thought. And then I really figured out from there what it is that I needed to do. And so I got back home, started my first business, and then from there expanded into coaching.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a story.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that's
I
incredible.
think that's,
Those are like the bullet points.
yeah. No, yeah. Oh my gosh, but like, that's just an incredible story that like a lot of people don't get that life-changing moment till way later in life. You know what I mean? Like, I think everyone has a very pivotal moment in their life like that. But I think yours obviously needed to happen then because like, look at you now. You know what I mean? Like,
Totally.
And also, I think like what you had talked about, how it was like your intuition trying to tell you. So, because your mental health is so connected to your physical health and vice versa. I'm like a firm believer in that.
Yes.
And so I think it's so interesting that you chose to listen. And I think a lot of people probably have moments like that and they choose not to listen because they don't know what to do next with that. It's such a scary.
It's so scary,
Yeah.
right? It's like you're on the edge of a cliff and you're deciding like, am I actually gonna jump or am I gonna go back to like comfort? Like I could have gone back to school and I probably would have gotten more sick.
Right.
You know, for me the scariest part is like, I also like after I was in the hospital, my doctor was like, yeah, you're on the verge of an autoimmune disease. And I was like,
God.
shoot, if I have an autoimmune disease at 20, what's next? Like cancer at 25, like it was really real to me, and I was like, okay, something has to change, and if like my body's gonna keep screaming at me until I actually do it. So.
wow.
Well, and our bodies are so smart too.
Yeah.
And like I've definitely, so I've been struggling with some disordered eating patterns and things of that nature, and we've covered episodes like that. But I've really been trying to get more into like the intuitive eating side of things, for example, because your body knows exactly what it needs at the given moment that it needs it. They're so smart. It's just, are we going to choose to listen, or are we going to choose to, in this case for me, it's like diet culture. For you, it's like we were talking about societal norms. Am I going to choose to go this path that, you know, is laid out for me and is, you know, this is what you're supposed to do, or am I going to go the other way and do what I'm supposed to do?
And literally listen to your body. Like,
you know, it's so interesting because I think we all come into this life with a specific code. Like basically, it's like your talents, your beliefs, your skills, your hopes, your dreams, everything is like your code. And a lot of the time we totally disregard, we like throw that code away and try and conform to these societal ideals. Like in high school, I had a super bad eating disorder, which led me into modeling actually. And it's because it's like you try and fit back into that other box, but the universe is like, no, like you have this incredible freaking code that's going to lead you to a life beyond your wildest dreams, but we disregard it.
I love that. I love thinking of that as a code. Like I've never thought of it that way. I think so much.
I'm writing that down.
You think I love that.
Love it.
Like that whole nature versus nurture argument.
Yes.
I think realizing though that part of your nature is maybe outweighs the nurture part a little bit too, or you can choose to look at it in that way and be what you're meant to be. I think that's such a beautiful concept. I love that.
Love it. So basically, I help my clients tap into like their code. Like what is their juice? What were they put on this earth to do? Yeah.
And how, like, what are some of the methods that you do to do that? Because I know that obviously that requires probably a different education that I'm, you know, not privy to, but like how did you get trained in that, and then what are some of the methods that you use to help your clients?
So what's really interesting is I actually came from like a very spiritual background. So I didn't grow up in a spiritual household, but probably through high school and college and these many awakenings, I was like, there has to be something else. And so I did a lot of my training in terms of spirituality and working with my own mentors and all of that good stuff to really get the tools down. And you know, we all go through this period where we're learning something and then we're like, I need to share it with the world, right? Like I'm an expert now, I need to share it. But what I really did was I let like the lessons sink into my life. Like we're always constantly learning, but I was like, I need to figure out this path for me first, get it down solid, and then show other people how to do it, right? Like that was really, really important for me. And so
I feel like you just spoke to my soul.
I literally,
no, I'm not stressed out. Like literally, you have no idea. That was like what I needed to hear.
Aw, oh my God, that makes me so happy.
No, I think that's like.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm getting emotional.
Oh my God.
No, I'm fine. I'm good. No, but seriously, it's very empowering to hear that because.
Well, I've never seen Do you like it?
No, just because recently, like we're coming up on like a year for the podcast, and it's like just reflecting on the year and like what it started as and what it is now. And like, I think in the beginning, I was so excited. You know what I mean? Oh my gosh, girl, you got me!
I know.
Okay, we're good.
It's all good.
No,
Cheers
in the
and
beginning,
release.
yeah, exactly. No, in the beginning, I was just we were both just so amped, and we didn't really have direction. And as we keep going, we're getting direction.
Yeah.
And it's a balance. So, you know, like, it's like absorbing everything we take from every episode and like meeting people like you and then giving that to the world. Like, that's something I need to work on, I think, because I get very excited that I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm learning so much right now. Like, this is such like honestly, it's not like a one pivotal moment in my life, but I'm in a pivotal stage in my life.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel that so heavy right now. So I think just like absorbing everything that I take in is very important so that I can do what I feel like we were meant to do.
Yeah.
For people in their 20s and young women and yeah, girl, you
That's
just spoke
so
to my
beautiful.
soul. Sorry for getting emotional. Actually, I'm not gonna apologize.
There you go.
Don't apologize
Let
for
it
getting
out.
emotional. That's our human nature.
Yeah.
You know? But thank you for that.
Of
Thank
course. And you know, I think we all go through that phase in the beginning of when we get into something. We're like so freaking amped. Like we're so excited. We're like, I need to share it with the world, right?
That's literally.
And then the deeper that you go into it, you're like, fuck, I don't know anything, right? Or you're like, wow, there's so much to learn.
Yes.
And then we start doubting ourselves
Yes,
because we're like,
that's me.
right?
That's the
Yeah,
cycle that I
it's
get
usually
into.
like then once you pass that first stage of excitement, you get into like your shit basically. And it's like, are you going to keep walking or are you going to use that as like a marker that you're not supposed to keep going?
Yeah.
When in reality, it's actually the marker that you're reaching
On
a
the
level
right
of
path.
success. Right, because you know
Yes.
that you don't know everything.
Yes.
And you know there is so much more.
Yes. I was listening to another podcast the other week, and it was the woman who was hosting it talked about the concept of perfectionism and the idea that I used to think this too, that perfectionism meant like, oh, I must do everything perfect. I try to do everything perfect. I don't consider myself a perfectionist in that way at all because I get lazy with certain things, and there are certain things that I'm not like that at all. I'm not that type A. But she was talking about perfectionism in the sense that, you know, you have these really high expectations for yourself because you know that you can do it when you start off, and then you get to the point where you're like, oh fuck, like, never mind, and then like you said, you backtrack or you procrastinate to the point where you don't do it at all because of this imposter syndrome that you feel like you're not good enough to do this, or you don't know enough, or it's going to be too hard. And I've been reading lots of self-help books lately, and the biggest piece of advice that I feel like I'm taking away from this book called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. It's really good.
The best.
Yes.
I need to read that. I've
I
heard
mean,
so
I'm not
many
even
good
finished
things.
with it, but there was one part that he was talking about the people that are successful and passionate and living out their truth and living out what they love are the ones that decided, am I willing to struggle for this? Yes or no? And then, you know, those are the people that are successful. And that's why everyone is successful at a different point in their life. Because I think some people, I hope at least for us, we're at a younger age where we've decided, okay, I'm willing to struggle for this. Some people realize that later in life, after they've worked a 9-to-5 job for forever, for example, and are like, oh, fuck, no, this isn't for me. So I just think that's so interesting that you talk about that first phase, because I thought I was the only one that felt that way.
Yeah.
Well, I see it like a staircase. So I always tell my clients, like, your success or your path is like a staircase, right? So you go up the first level and you're like, oh my God, I'm so excited, I'm so passionate. And then you get to like this plateau where you're like, shit, what's happening? My shit's coming to the surface. And a lot of the time where we make the mistake is we take that as a sign that we need to go back down the level. When in reality, if you literally just keep walking forward, you get to that next jump.
Yeah.
You know, and we forget that that's actually what success looks like. It's not straight to the top.
No,
Oh my God.
it's not
like,
linear at all.
No.
Yeah, and you look at those successful people, you know, influencers, for example, that have hundreds of thousands of followers and who we follow every day, and you just assume like, oh, they must have just had a lucky break, or they must have just got there, you know, or started there. what a weird concept. Like, no, of course they didn't. They started somewhere at the bottom too.
Right.
They just are at a different point in the race than you are.
Yeah.
And it can be so discouraging. So I think it's good to hear that, like, we're not the only ones that feel that way.
No, definitely.
And it's like new level, new devil. Every time you reach a new level of success, you're gonna deal with new levels of shit.
Yeah.
You know, it's why like my clients who finish 90 days with me end up going on past that because they're at that next level. They're like, okay, now I'm dealing with next level stuff, and I do it on a daily basis. Like I'm dealing with new shit.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah.
Exactly. New lessons
Terrifying.
every day. New lessons
There's
every
a
day.
quote. So I was a college tennis player, and our coach used to say this all the time. You can apply this to your life too. Like, the pressure is a privilege. You got to a certain point where, like, holy shit, yeah, this is hard, but like, it's because you earned it. You weren't just handed this most of the time.
Right.
9 times out of 10.
Definitely.
I just think that's and that is totally a mindset shift. And so I'm wondering too, like, what kind of process did you go through to shift your mindset? Were there any sort of healthy habits that you had at, you know, the crux of your struggle in college that you decided for yourself, okay, maybe I'm going to implement these tiny baby steps here and there that have developed into greater habits?
That's a really great question. And what I would say to that is, at the core of it, listening to my intuition and following that no matter what. Like, no matter how batshit crazy it looks.
Yeah.
Because, like you could say, you know, feel the fear and do it anyways. And that is definitely something that I've done within my life. But really at the heart of that, it's going within and saying, okay, what do I want? What step in front of me is next? Like, literally, not even big picture, but like, what is the step in front of me? And who do I need to become in order to be that, in order to go after it?
Yeah.
Right? And actually acting as if. And I think we have this whole mentality that, like, our personalities or our characteristics or who we are is set in stone. Right?
Yeah.
A lot of people say, oh, I'm just a perfectionist, or like, oh, I'm just not confident, or I'm just X, Y, and Z. And
They
like,
put themselves in boxes. Yeah.
exactly, right? And in reality, anything in your life is changeable. Your brain is constantly changing. You have a new brain every 7 years. Like, and so when we realize that who we are is changeable, we can become anything that we need to be in that moment. Right? It's just a set of changing your beliefs about it. And so basically what I would do is I would go internal and say, okay, what is my next intuitive decision? Like, what's my next pull? At one point it was like, yeah, I can't go back to college, right? It was like, you need to go travel. My intuition led me to Bali. I was like, where the fuck am I going?
Wow.
I was like, I don't know what's in Bali. My parents were like,
intuition.
why Bali? Why not like South America? You're a little closer. And I was like, I don't know. I need to go to Bali.
Wow.
And then realizing, like, who do I need to become to step into that experience and doing it?
Wow.
So
That's
a problem.
really cool that you traveled to Bali, because we both had an experience where we got to go do an internship in Cape Town, South Africa.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So at separate times, at different times, but I truly believe after that trip, my entire life changed.
Yeah.
I just like that perspective, that world, like, not worldly because I haven't traveled the world, but meeting the people that I met at that place, like, opened my eyes to a whole new world that I just like needed to see for that next step. So it's really cool. Like, that's what travel can do. Like,
Oh my God.
everyone
So
should travel
important.
and get out of their comfort zone, because that's like, I was terrified. I remember
Yeah.
sitting in the car with you after I'd went, and you were like so scared to go. You
I
were
had
like
a full-blown
sobbing.
breakdown.
Really?
Full on. I was like, I was like, girl,
Yeah.
this is gonna be the best time of your
You
life.
guys at least had each
Literally.
other. Like,
Yeah.
I got on the
Oh, thank
plane by
God.
myself, and I was like, what am I doing?
And
with
you-
a child?
you
That
didn't
is
know
ballsy.
anyone?
No, I didn't know
That's
anyone.
ballsy.
Yeah, it was crazy. My
But-
parents were like, what?
Yeah.
But
After that, I mean,
yeah, I think the whole thing with travel, like, right now we're in unprecedented times. We don't know what travel is going to look like, but just giving yourself the perspective that there's so much more than this, like, American rat race that we put ourselves in. Like, I think the number one...
Sorry. The
I
rat
think-
race
hello.
is it.
The
That is
number
it.
one thing that I learned while traveling, like, I had this pivotal moment where I was, like, sitting at, like, breakfast with some of my friends who were from Germany and Mexico, and I was like, guys, like, I don't know, like, what's next for me, like, all this societal pressures to go back to school and go down this path, basically, but I know that I have this dream. And they were like, Steph, why are you freaking out? You're like 20 years old, you already have, like, 2 years of school underneath your belt. Most people in Germany or in Mexico, like, they're like, we don't even start school until we're 20. Like, you can always go back. Like, you can always change. Like, there's not just one way to do it.
Yes.
And they were like, chill the fuck out.
Right.
And I was like,
You're like,
wow, my Americanness is showing.
Yes.
And so that opened me up. I was like, oh, I can go home. I can do like online courses while I'm starting my business. I can finish in a different way than what society told me I could do.
Yeah,
Yes.
100%. I felt, so for me in Cape Town, I definitely was awakened to that whole rat. I'm having a hard time
Rat
with English
race.
today. Rat race mentality of, before then, for me and the theme of the last 4 years of my life up until pretty much now has been check as many boxes as you can, get as many internships as you can, join as many clubs as you can. And my mental health suffered so severely, my senior year especially. I had to go home for a few weeks and, get treatment and stuff. But then I came back and realized, like, it's okay not to have to do it all. Who said that you had to do it all? Like, and I'm grateful I grew up in an environment that was, achievement was encouraged. I do think it taught me a certain level of discipline and has definitely set me on like a good path for success. But now I'm realizing that like that college degree I have, I haven't really used it since I graduated. Yeah, I have it. But everything that I learned was the life experiences that came with it, and not necessarily the
piece of
textbook
paper.
material, the piece of paper. It's all about the people, the places, the lessons you learn from others, and you have to be willing to open your heart and your mind to that, or else you're going to stay in that, that little bubble for the rest of your life. And it's so much easier said than done, so much, because you have to be willing to take that leap. But I think once you do, you realize, oh my God, I just did that. Like, that's so fucking cool. I can keep doing that if I really want to.
I survived. Wait,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
didn't die when I went outside my comfort zone.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
you're like, cool with it.
Yeah, 100%.
Did you do anything crazy in Bali, like bungee jumping? Or?
No, well, I feel like, I went to Bali and I thought I was going to have this whole spiritual experience. I'm like, I'm going to meditate every day. I'm going to go to yoga. Like,
Yeah.
That's the only thing I knew about Bali, is that it was like a very spiritual land. I knew nothing else. And I went and I learned how to be a kid again.
Yeah.
And like, basically we were just traveling all around, like every weekend, learned how to drive a moped,
There you go.
went cliff jumping. Like, I think those are probably the craziest things. Just like met people. I think meeting strangers is something that we never do nowadays.
Especially when you get to a certain age, too. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. And it was so cool just going to dinner and like striking up a conversation with somebody next to you and like becoming friends with them, and like adventuring with different people, which is just, I think,
I can't wait to travel again.
I know.
I hope
literally
it's soon.
I can't
I
wait.
thought I was gonna be in Bali during quarantine.
Really?
When quarantine hit. Yeah. I was like, I'm gonna go back to Bali. But
That
So
would have
when
been a
were you
great
there
place to
again?
quarantine.
I was there, oh my gosh, I can't even calculate how many years ago, but it was after my sophomore year of college.
Okay.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay.
So shifting gears just a little bit, because we've been talking about purpose, fulfillment, the 9 to 5 a little bit. Can you explain your method and like the PDL, correct?
method. Yeah.
As of now, what that, like the core values of that method are.
Totally. So it's the purpose-driven life method. Basically, we go through 4 main stages. And the first stage is a complete lifestyle reset. So I get people's like routines down, their stress levels down, so that they can actually feel energized for their life. Because I think the number one thing that so many people feel is like drained and exhausted.
Yes.
And people ask me like, Steph, how do you have so much energy? And I'm like, I'm very disciplined with, first of all, my routines, because that's what I need to show up for other people. Like, I have to take care of me to show up for others. And second of all, I'm very disciplined with like my attention, like with social media. I was telling you guys, like, I don't consume TikTok content. Like, I create it, but I don't consume it because I'm very aware of what goes into my mind. So that is what we do, the first phase. And then we go into mastering your mindset. So that's where we do all of like the subconscious reprogramming and getting into like, what are the beliefs that actually hold you back from recognizing what you want? And we go through a whole process of rewiring the brain. And I think a big part of that is decision making and helping people. Like, I grew up very analytical, very like achievement oriented, not creative at all, not in tune with my intuition really. And I had to realize really quick that my intuition was going to get me to my dreams, not necessarily like the logistical, need a plan, analytical part. And so I basically teach my clients how to get in touch with their intuition to make those decisions that are logical and intuitive to get to that next level.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
And then we go through like finding your purpose and really getting clear on that. What are the goals that you want to work towards? Like what is the juiciest vision that you could come up with in like your life? A lot of the time we limit ourselves to what other people around us are doing, what our parents did, you know, what society tells you to do.
Yes.
And we don't think outside of that path. And so we get super clear there and then start to take action towards it. So,
wow.
Yeah.
I think honestly you have a superpower because not only can you keep up with that with yourself and your own individual life, that routine, like that's hard. That's way easier said than done, but you can also balance other people's energies and life and heaviness on yourself. Like that's truly a superpower. I hope you know that. Like that is
I think they
amazing.
go hand in hand though. You know, the reason why I'm so disciplined with my routines, and like, let's be real, I'm freaking human. Like there are some days where I don't hit it, but I also still count, like I always have 3 non-negotiables that I do every single day so that I can count that day as a win, right? Even if I'm human, I don't have like a full hour for my routine. I still count it as a win, and I do it because it makes me able to show up for other people. Like I would not be able to be here at the time of day that we're doing this if I didn't take care of myself and my energy. I would be a mess.
Wow.
So yeah, I think they go hand in hand.
I have kind of a deep question, but this is something that I've been thinking about a lot too. And I've talked to Elise. Like, I'm kind of at the point in my life where I'm like, who the fuck am I? Like, what makes me me? And I feel like it's got to be a little bit exhausting. You know, you match the energy of the people you're around, right? At least I do. I realize that I kind of mimic. So if someone is really, really high energy that I'm around, I try to match that high energy. Or if someone's a little bit more mellow, I try to be mellow too. It's just how I've always been. In that process, I feel like I've kind of lost a sense of like, well, who am I? When all is said and done and that is stripped away and I'm home by myself with my thoughts, who am I? So I don't know if you felt like that at all ever, because you're dealing with people every day. So if you have, like, are there any tips that you have to kind of ground yourself and center yourself and make sure that you're still honoring like your true essence, if that makes sense?
Well, so is this a question about how do you figure that out, like who you actually are, or how do you ground back into who you are? Or both?
Both.
Okay, cool. So
give me advice.
So in terms of, because you know, that's something that I actually struggled with for a while. I always felt like a chameleon.
Yes.
Like I was the type who I was like, I could be friends with any type of person, but let very few people like super close in with me. And you know, it's a gift, right? Because you could walk into any room and match the vibe. But then it is like, you're like, well, who am I? Who actually am I? And what I have found is like really recognizing, okay, who are you drawn to? Who do you want to be also? There's two different parts of it. Like the first is like, what kinds of energies are you drawn to? Like I know that for me, I'm very like go-getter. I've always been loud. Like I've always been like very high energy, and it's what people compliment me on is like, oh, you're so energetic, right? And so finding what it is that you're drawn to, what people compliment about you, which doesn't always say who you are, but it can. And then also asking like, okay, what kind of identity do I want to step into? What parts of me do I want to activate? Like if I could be anything to do anything, who would that be? And usually that will give you clues to you. A lot of the time when I say that, people are like, oh, but then am I creating like a facade of who I want to be? And everybody's answers are so different when they say like, okay, who do you actually like, who do you want to be? Everyone's answers are so different that it really gives beautiful clues into like who you actually are.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yes. And I'm thinking too, they're probably so different because you're getting who you feel you are at the core, which is your intuition, and then all of the people around you that tell you or think of you in a certain light and trying to adopt what you think is like the right version of yourself for them. I think that's been my issue for a long time.
So let me ask you this, like what types of people do you like attract, well, not attract, but what types of people are you magnetized to? Even on Instagram or like in books or whatever?
I think I'm very magnetized to people that are like, no bullshit, very transparent. I am, one thing I do know about myself is I'm such an open book. I have no problem talking about like the dirty shit in my life. So I think I'm drawn to people on Instagram. There are a couple like body positive accounts that I love to follow that I just think are so like on the mark of what the point of using social media is, for example.
Yes.
I hate passive aggressiveness, upsets me.
Yeah.
I just don't, I think people that are just happy people, secure with who they are, don't question themselves so much, and just do what they say that they're going to do,
That's your magic then.
I guess that's my magic. There you go.
Right? It's like, that's what I see in you, and like, I just met you, right? It's like, no BS. Like, you have a heart of gold, clearly, which is like where you're like an open book, but it really is like the no BS. I'm going to tell it like it is, and also back it up with a lot of love.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Whoa.
Okay.
It's
I
part
came
of
to St. Louis and I found out who I am. So
I mean, does that resonate?
Absolutely.
I mean, as her
100%.
best friend, you saying that and her just saying that, it just spilled out. Like, I see, there's a lot that I don't know about you that I'm learning every day, and that's like the beautiful thing, but there's so much that I see that I sometimes don't think you see, and vice versa.
Yeah.
I know it's the same way because we spend a lot of time together. We've been best friends for 4 years now. So like, I also want to have a separate episode on friendships, because I think that's really important to like read your best friend and know how they get energized and what makes them excited and stuff like that. Like, it's best friendship is kind of like a relationship.
Best friendship.
Best friendship.
It really is.
It really is. Like, you have to put an effort to maintain that friendship.
Yeah.
And like, also we run a business too, so like balancing that friendship versus like business, like you really have to know each other.
Yeah, you do.
You have to know each other.
That's
You have to be able
crazy.
to work with each other through thick and thin, you
Yeah.
know? And we're figuring that out. I mean, I think like it's just really cool to see that you can read that energy just from like reading her.
It's a gift.
You have a
I was
superpower.
like,
You're like
It's a thing.
Superwoman.
Okay,
I'm psychic.
I'm curious. Are you into astrology at all?
A little bit.
Okay, what is your sign?
So I am a Cancer
Okay.
sun, I think.
Okay.
Leo rising, which is
Okay.
what I kind of like connect with, and then Pisces moon.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm getting my Taurot soon.
Oh, very cool. Okay.
I am a Leo sun.
Okay, I usually click with Leos. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
why they always find me.
You are
Yeah.
such. I thought you would have been a Leo. Like, you are very Leo.
Well, when
energy
you
for me.
said chameleon, because I'm a Libra, and
Okay.
Libras are like exactly that. I was like, she must be a Libra. But like, also Libras and Leos are drawn to each other too.
Exactly.
So it makes sense. It's fun.
But I think it goes back to like what you said, and this is why a lot of people are against astrology, is because people who are all in for astrology put themselves in that box of, oh, I'm a Cancer, so that means A, B, and C.
Oh yeah,
You know
think
what I
it's
mean?
just
That's
a
why-
loose guy.
Very
That's
loose.
right. That's why.
Yeah.
That's why. Like, I'm super interested in it. I think it's really cool. I do believe like that it's comes from something greater, which all of does.
Right.
Everything does.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to not be so into it where that you just like, oh, I hate them. Like, you judge them
Right.
because they're a Capricorn or something
Right.
like that.
You're a Gemini.
I've met people like that. I'm like, what?
I don't get it.
No,
I'm not that
that's
into
like
it.
it's super funny. I always had a thing not against Geminis, but it was busted real quick when I learned that some of my best friends are Geminis. I was
Yeah.
like, okay,
You're
this
like-
is bullshit. Like,
Yeah.
no, you can't not like a sign. Like, it just doesn't make
No.
sense. And
Yeah.
I think it gives you good hints of who you are. Like, I know if I connect to my Leo energy, I can be very magnetic. I can be in front of people. I'm like, oh, that makes sense, you know? But I'm not like gonna just define myself based on that.
Exactly.
Can I ask you another
Yeah.
question about like you talked about how you had a spiritual background. I'm just intrigued because I felt like, I lived by myself last summer as going into senior year in Chicago. I did an internship. It was like my first taste of like 9 to 5 life. And I was living by myself, the full experience. And I had the biggest like you could call it a come to Jesus moment, but like, you know, like, holy shit, there has got to be more to life than the rat race of, you know, our Western ideals where you clock in and clock out and that's it. Like, what? Like, that there can't be. And so I felt like at that point in time, I really connected, or was at least trying to connect with a different side of, you know, the spiritual side of me. Like, what is the purpose of all of this? So I'm just intrigued by your journey with that.
Yeah.
What that looks like.
So, and also to circle back on, you're like, how do I ground back into myself? Because this leads into the spirituality. It's really connecting with your higher self. So I think all of us have a version of ourselves that's on a different dimension that is like our more spiritually aligned self. You can imagine it like your older self who's like got it going on. She's really confident in herself. She's freaking killing it. Like, who is she? Yeah. Right? And that's I think, how I teach my clients to connect spiritually to something greater, right, is by connecting to your higher self. What is that version of you, and what would she do in this moment? She's always guiding you. She's the one who's in your intuition. She's showing you the way. And I used that as my marker for a long time, especially when I was in high school and college. And I'm very grateful I hit 2 major rock bottoms really early in my life, and which led me to like those moments. And through that time, and I'll tell you what those moments were, but through that time I relied on my higher self to pull me through. Like, I always imagined, like, what would my 30-year-old self be like? Like, I would see her like in all of her glory, and just she would always let me know that's all okay, you know.
Wow.
Which is amazing.
I literally always think about myself as like a mature grown woman. Like, I feel like, especially just coming into your like femininity and womanhood, it's so beautiful, like the stages of womanhood. And like, I picture myself at 30 and I know what I want, and just like picturing her makes me so excited.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right?
I'm like, she's
gonna,
a bad bitch. She's
right?
a bad bitch, and she's gonna like, she will have it, because that's just how I see myself. You know what I mean? It's so important to envision yourself and what you want for your life, and constantly, if that keeps you up at night, that's a blessing. Like, it sucks maybe you don't get enough sleep, but like, you envisioning what you want and taking time is basically meditation. Like, you don't have to be sitting like this to meditate. Like, I meditate before I go to bed. Just envisioning what you want in your life, the more you envision it, the like more it's gonna become your reality.
Oh, you know? Totally. And that's like a huge part of what I teach, is like, especially for the feminine, meditation was created by men for men, to be honest. You know, like, if you think about that. Like, Buddha,
I've never heard
man. We love him. Like, we love meditation, but it's a very masculine practice. And so a lot of women are like, why the fuck can't I meditate?
Yeah, it's hard.
And I'm like, well, maybe you're actually not supposed to be meditating in the way that you think. For men, like, I was meditating with my boyfriend the other day, and I was like, what were you thinking about?
Goals.
Because we do, like, I call it, like, visualization. I was like, what were you thinking about? Because I'm, like, just curious. And he was like, I was literally sitting there just, like, emptiness.
Like, oh, I would, the
And
thought
men
of that is a
actually love
beautiful
that,
thought.
right?
You're like, wait,
never in my life, I don't ever think that's happened.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Like, do you ever notice, like, the masculine, like, men will be more likely to, like, just zone out, or, like, put on the TV, zone out. And that's really the masculine energy. The feminine energy is very active. It's, like, chaos, it's emotion, it's visualization. So for us, you know, sitting here just trying to be empty, like, isn't always gonna work. And what's really beautiful is when we can attach, like, an emotional state or a visualization to it, because that's what makes us magnetic. That's what magnetizes our future in, is when we can get into state, which is like that excited state, and put your focus. So it's energy and focus. You got your energy into that place where you're at an amplified state. You're basically an energetic match for your opportunities.
I love that.
And you put your focus on what it is that you want, you are magnetizing it into your life.
So that's what people really say when they mean manifest.
Yes.
Because that word is thrown around all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And I believe it. I do, because I've seen it happen in my life every now and then. But it's almost like, well, how did that happen? So I think understanding the science, the psychology behind it's really neat.
Oh my gosh, it's so interesting. You should read the book Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Joe Dispenza. Okay. Because it's basically about the science background of manifestation. I actually don't use the word manifestation in my typical practices because it's thrown around. A lot of people think it's very passive, right? Of like, I'm gonna put that I want. money out there,
Right.
the check's gonna come to me in the mail, like that,
Exactly.
you know, the law of attraction secret or whatever.
Right.
And in reality, there is an active piece of it,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
Where you have to be in alignment with it. You have to focus on it. You have to know exactly what it is that you want and be clear with it. And then take the action necessary after that. Like, say yes when the opportunity comes, you know?
100%.
And so, yeah, magnetizing.
I love that.
But to go back to your question about my spiritual background, that was a huge side tangent. What was I was gonna tell you my like come to Jesus moment.
Yeah.
So I didn't grow up in a spiritual household, but my mom had a spiritual awakening pretty, like probably when I was in high school, and I was always like, "That's your thing. Don't fucking tell me about it." Like I was just kind of like whatever.
Right.
Oh, my foot fell asleep.
I know, my knees are like,
We got
the long leg
creaking
problems.
bones
Okay.
right now.
I know, long
Let's
leg problems.
There we go.
Okay, there we go.
So I didn't grow up spiritual, but I got to a point, I think in high school, where I was so miserable. I remember myself literally like on my knees in the bathroom floor. At that point, I was modeling and dealing with an eating disorder. And I remember imagining my life until I was 40. And I was like, if I continue on this trajectory, I was like, I don't want to live. I was like, if that's going to be my life, I don't want to live. And then there was a voice within me that said like, there has to be something else.
Yeah.
There has to be something
Literally.
else.
Yeah.
And I know in that moment, I was like 16 or something. It was not my 16-year-old self who like pulled me off of the bathroom floor. Like it was something so much greater than me. And I think that really started, like I was suffering so much mentally, physically, emotionally, that I had to lean on something that was greater than myself. And so that's when I started working with, I had a really incredible psychologist who just changed my life. She probably the smartest woman I've ever met. She had her PhD, but she was also very spiritual, and she really opened me up to everything and changed my life. And so that was probably the first time that I really got deep into it. And then from there, just really expanded my practices and relying on something so much greater than me. And then in college, when I had my second come to Jesus moment, which was really when I was super sick, and I was just like, I don't care, God, universe, whatever is up there, like just make me better. And that probably pushed me deeper into my spiritual understanding of the world. And I think now I always say my biggest spiritual practice is listening to my intuition and acting on it.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't think it's anything that crazy. I mean, yes, it's cool to learn about it, and it will always be a lifelong practice, but it's really about just listening to you and going for it.
Yeah. I love that. That's like, we recently, like I was telling you about the growth of our podcast, how it's changed in the past year. We recently, in the past month, have changed our bio to the well-being podcast for young go-getters. And in the bio we say like telling something along the lines of telling the stories of the journey of young go-getters, mental, physical, and spiritual awakenings, and their journey with that. So I think this is like probably one of the first episodes that we've had a guest who was so willing to talk about the spiritual side, because that's the hardest side to conquer.
Really?
I believe. And it's something that like physically we talk a lot about body positivity and fitness and health and finding that balance.
Yeah.
And mentally we do talk a lot about mental health, and we've had guests where they talk about the mental journey, but this is truly the first episode where we've like mastered the spirituality part of it. So
it's very
cool.
cool.
And she talks about how it's all tied together, right? Like
all
the
tied
three-legged stool. So
Yeah.
you can't have one without the others, you know? And so when you have the three working cohesively together, it is like, holy shit.
it's like
this is living.
and that's
But getting there is so difficult.
Right.
when you get that, I think that's when you step up and the next, the all three together in that point in your life, whatever's going on.
Yeah.
If you can balance all three, that's a level up.
Right.
You know.
I mean, I think there's so much that we can do within our own minds. I mean, clearly, like I'm a mindset coach, and a lot of what I do, I don't base it spiritually. Probably the most spiritual that we go is like trusting your higher self, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the basis of all of it, like, yes, there's so much you can change with your mind, but at some point you have to trust and surrender, right?
Yes.
And you have to like trust that the universe literally has your back, you know, that if you are in alignment and you go for it, that something will always prevail. You'll always be taken care of, you know, in some sense or another.
Right, and that's faith in the highest degree. And I think when people think faith, they think a specific religion, but faith can be, faith in the universe, faith that the leap that I take is going to lead me to where I'm
your
supposed
higher self,
to be, you know, and I think faith is for everyone, which I think is important for some people to realize, but I love that. So, okay, I have one last question, which we like to ask is, you know, if you could go back in time and tell your 20-year-old self something, what would you tell her?
That's a great question. I have to think on that. Because I want it to be that there's so much more, there's so much possibility out there than what you actually perceive in the moment. That, because I'm thinking back where I was when I was 20 and, you know, I was breaking out of what had always been put in front of me. And if I could just be like, yo, it's okay. Like, there's so much out there. If you see someone doing what you want to do, it means it's possible for you. So fucking go for it.
You hear that? Did y'all hear that? Wow.
Woo-hoo!
Oh my gosh. Steph, thank you so much. This is for sure going to be one of my favorite episodes. Like, hands down. I've already surrendered to that notion. No, but thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Thank you.
We do this thing at the end where it's our little saying. And we forgot to tell you about it in the beginning, so we'll just do it. But first of all, let's plug social medias where you can find all of your services. And
so on Instagram, I am just Stefanie Elsperman. It's a mouthful, but it is STEFANIEELSPERMAN. Find me there. On TikTok, I am the.mindsetcoach.
Cool.
And that's me.
Yes, go check out her TikTok. That's where I found her. That she has like 50-something K. Like, I hope it's a bunch of young people, you know, like looking at your stuff, because TikTok is a more young platform, but it's like really cool that people on TikTok exist like you, because I think the younger that I guess like they see positive messages like that. I wish I had that when I was younger. I wish as a young woman, like, I wish I had seen that on Instagram back then. We didn't have that on Instagram.
I know. I always think about just being the person you needed when you were younger.
Yes.
And that's like my biggest, that's my number one.
That makes my heart.
Go check her out. Seriously, go check her out. As always, follow us at thisisyour.20s on Instagram.
Twitter is thisisyour_20s.
Yes.
thisisyour20s.com. We'll have everything that you need there in one place. And then email us at thisisyour20s@gmail.com.
Yay!
So, yeah.
Amazing.
Are you ready?
Yeah. Okay, here we go.
Do I need to say something?
No.
Okay,
it's all good. It's all good.
Put you under pressure.
Yeah, sometimes.
Because we don't really do
happen?
it
Like,
that well
fireworks?
half the time either.
Yeah, there's like a whole smoke machine in the back.
What happens next?
All right, ready?
Yes, you go first.
You may not have your shit figured out,
But that's okay.
This is your 20s. All right.
Woo-hoo!
Love y'all. See you next week.